Hello! Okay, we are letting everybody know that we are live right now. I am going to go ahead and invite our guest. Let's see here. Search. Oops. We're going live with our past student. Talk to you guys about her experience in our 3-month coaching program, the Makin Money Moves Method. That is our signature. Hey, here you are. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. I'm always so bad at these things. I'm like technologically challenged, so I'm like, how do I invite her?
No, that's okay. I was reading your instructions. I was like, wait, am I supposed to do this? And then I was all concerned because I was like, I don't know how to do this, but it was
We are here now, so thank you again so much for joining me. I was just introducing you to everyone, so I was saying how you just came through our 3-month coaching program, the Make the Money Moves Method, which is our signature process, the one that I used to go from $40,000 in debt to building my first $500,000 net worth in my 20s, and then building that to $1 million at 30 years old. But I know you have had just like incredible results just in the 3 months that you were with us, and I think it's so important to showcase our students who are doing amazing things, because number one, I know it's really easy for people to look at me and be like, yeah, okay, like you're the exception, like you're the anomaly, this can't be possible for anyone else, nobody else can have crazy results, especially not in a short period of time. So I love when I see students coming in and just like freaking killing it. I'm like, yes, let's go, let's share your story. So again, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, I definitely think like even like when I saw you on TikTok, I was like, wow, like this girl's so lucky. And then the more I watched your videos and your TikToks and stuff, I'm like, oh, she's actually like a real person. So it was kind of like interesting having that switch. And then just going through your course, you hear about all the other students and like everything. So it becomes a lot more like realistic, and then you realize it's like pretty easy to achieve. But yeah, I definitely think it's good to have like a lot more examples of like students who didn't start off great, because it makes it a lot more achievable to other people who aren't yet in the program.
100%. I know. People will go and they'll see our student success stories. And they're like, bullshit. This is impossible. Or, I don't think that I could do that. And it's like, yeah, you know what? These people all came in the same way, being like, I don't know if this is actually possible for me. But then learning the tools and the tips and the strategies and all the things, and then actually implementing them into their lives, they're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I love that. Amazing. Okay, so Taylor, why don't you start off? Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself? Who are you? Where are you from? Give me all the leads.
Yeah, sure. So I'm originally from Winnipeg. Right now I'm just living in Saskatchewan, working as a paramedic. So I started as a paramedic about a year ago. So, just like fresh out of school, like in lots of debt. I was kind of, because I was in lots of debt, it was kind of making things worse, how you get into bad habits and stuff like that. So I kind of saw your TikTok for a while, and I thought originally like, I was like, oh, like that'd be interesting, but like I don't really have the money. Like I'll just go off of like the little tips that you post all the time. But then like things just kind of kept snowballing, kind of kept getting worse. I found like I was falling into really bad habits, which is kind of disappointing for me. But then I like felt like I was disappointing my parents, because they were always really good at like teaching me like the proper ways to use credit cards and all that kind of stuff. So then I was like, I was getting to a point where I was like getting nervous about it, and I was like, okay, like I need to do something to get on top of this. And I know like a lot of my guy friends, they're all into like stocks and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I don't understand any of that. So I was like, I need to do something about it. And then I saw that you can actually join your program. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. So I had an interview with Jenny, which is your intake manager, and she's wonderful, the sweetest lady ever. And so I think we were scheduled for 45 minutes. We probably talked for like an hour and a half. And like she was wonderful. She was like, I really think like this would be a good idea for you. I'm like, okay, I'm sold, like let's do it. And so I joined. When I joined, I was like in debt with like my car payments. Like I hadn't made any yet. Like I had it set up. And so yeah, I was set up. I think it was 25 grand. And then I had my credit card, like I had no savings, nothing. Like it was just not good. And it was frustrating, because then I found like, when you're working just to pay off debt and you're not able to enjoy it at all, it's like, regardless of how new you are, how much you love your job, like you're gonna have some sort of like like resentment towards it, because it's like, ugh, like all this hours is just going right, like I don't have any of it to enjoy. So yeah, I joined your guys program, and I mean, like I've changed everything, like all my habits and everything. I've savings now, like it's crazy, but that's kind of where I started. But I'm really, really happy with all the change that I've made through the program.
I love that. I'm so proud of you. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
I know we have a lot of people coming into the program in a similar position where they're like, okay, well, I went to school, I did the thing, I'm making more money than I ever have, but I like stuck. Like I can't get to that kind of like next point, and like how the fuck do I actually get there? And like what am I doing wrong? And I went through the exact same thing myself, where I was like, okay, I went to school, I'm in $40,000 of debt now. Now I've got like, it's a big girl job. And I'm like, okay, where is all this like wealth and happiness and money and like things that I was promised when I got here? And it's like, I'm just
got educated. Yeah.
I have $0 in the bank and like, what the fuck? So like, I totally understand where you're coming from. And you're seeing people on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook, or whatever, and like they're getting married, having kids, buying houses. How? Like, how can you afford this? What are you doing? What am I doing wrong? And so it's just interesting to be able to go back and say, okay, you know what? I thought that I was stuck. I thought that I wasn't able to move forward, but really I was able to change some things. That was actually pretty easy to change in the long run once you have that roadmap to success, and to be able to completely change your life. So why don't you tell me a little bit more about what you were able to accomplish in the program? Like, what were your goals? What were you able to accomplish?
Yeah, well, and I'll just start by saying I think that's so true. Like, I remember like every job I've had like through life, I like slowly moved up, but it seemed like every time I made more money, there was like more debts, more like other stuff to pay off. And I was like, this is getting so frustrating, because I'm like, exactly, you're told like once you get that career job, you're making so much money and like you're gonna have so much to save. It's like, well, no, because then you have, rent, and then you have car payments and all this. So it was getting really frustrating. So like I said, like I was kind of just breaking even for the first like, I want to say 6 months of my job, and I was like getting really upset, because you're right. Then you have all these people that are like getting engaged and buying houses, and I'm like, well, that would be so amazing, but like I don't feel like that's gonna happen. So I joined the program. I find like what I will say is like it changed a lot more than just like my finance situation. Like I find like I'm a lot more confident now. I'm a lot more like, because it's like it builds so much more. It gives you knowledge to like know what to do with your finances, and then you get that financial stability. But then it does so much more for your life, right? Overall.
Yes.
I'm like completely credit card debt free. Like I've also raised my credit score like 150 points. So like, it's crazy. Like, and that too, like I was surprised with how fast it goes up. I'm like, this is gonna take forever, like this sucks. And no, it doesn't. Like if you put in the work, like 150 points in like the 3 months since I've started, it's crazy. I don't have any more credit card debt. So you talk a lot about your program too, which my credit card debt I think was like $3,000 for like the most part. So I paid that off completely. And then I had no savings at all. And in your program you talk a lot about, like having multiple streams of savings, like your emergency fund, your like GICs. And I think right now currently in my GIC I have over 5. And then in my emergency fund I just got paid, so it would have been like it has to be over 3 now, which is huge. Like that's already like if
that's
you include the debt
amazing.
payment, that's like over $10,000 that I've accumulated in 3 months, like just from changing habits. It's insane. And then my TFSA open now, and like I have a meeting with my financial advisor to start investing. Like it's super exciting. Like it's life changing, honestly. Like that's not even like being dramatic or anything. Like it really is crazy how much my life has changed in 3 months just from listening and doing my homework kind of thing.
I'm so proud of you. And you know what, Kay? So most people are not going to end up changing their lives drastically. And the reason being is because most people first are not going to admit that they have a problem, right? They're going to be like, ego's going to get in the way, and they're going to be like, no, nothing needs to change. Fuck this, not my fault. It's the government's fault. It's the economy's fault. I'm like, okay, there are definitely things that need to change. And there are definitely things that you know, we need to work to overcome as a society, but at the same time, we need to learn how to play the game to win. So the first step is, yeah, admitting that something needs to change, then seeking the knowledge, okay, and not even just seeking the knowledge, but then going and implementing what you've learned. And we lose so many people at each step. Like, you are the prime example of someone who's like, yes, okay, there's something that needs to change. I'm going to go out and find the knowledge, and then I'm going to implement it into my freaking life and have these amazing changes. And like, this is why we call it a mind, body, soul, and bank account upgrade, because you know, I really believe that personal finance is 80% mindset and behavior, and then it's 20% tactic.
Oh yeah.
And this is why so many of us are struggling, because we are focusing just on like, okay, well, I'm struggling with money. It's because I need the hottest stock. It's because I need the best strategy to pay off my debt, or whatever it is. And yes, we definitely give you those things in the program. However, we also give you the behavior and the mindset to help you get there. Like, we have, you know, our therapist on staff, Rashika, she's incredible, doing the mindset masterminds. We teach mindset in the first beginning modules of the program to help you build that foundation so that when we get to the tactic, it gets to be effortless, right? It gets to actually work and be long-term. And I think my favorite wins, yes, the financial ones are freaking amazing, but when our students come and they tell me, Nicole, I'm sleeping better. Nicole, I'm having better relationships. Nicole, I feel like I can finally fucking breathe. People are like, I'm losing weight I couldn't lose before because I'm just like so much less stress, and I'm able to focus on myself and my health and like just all of the things. It's honestly so incredible. I love how this can just touch every aspect of your life.
Yeah, well, and it really has. Like, I remember when I was taking it, like, I had like a lot of stuff going on, but like the money thing was just making everything so much worse, because it was like, you don't feel like you could be, you know, you could have the highest paying job or whatever, but like if you're in debt, like you still feel like a failure, because it's like, okay, like I still have to go and like work for endless hours and make all this money, and it's just going straight to my debt. It's like I'm not managing money properly. And like, I remember when I started your course, like I saw how much psychology was in it, and I was like, kind of like, oh, like I never really would have thought of it that way, like that I'm kind of, you know, blocking half of my success. But it's the truth. Like, when you start and, you know, you start telling us like, you know, like, as much as it is kind of hard to admit, like, you are your problem, and it's true. Like, and I find that that's helped me in a lot more of like my life aspect, you know, with difficult coworkers or like whatever. It's like, okay, like, yes, the other person might be like affecting me, but like, how am I letting it happen? Or how am I, and it's the same thing with money. It's like, yes, I might be, you know, I might have shit luck with like, you know, my car maintenance and like that kind of stuff, but it's like, how am I reacting? And am I setting myself up to succeed or to fail? Whereas like now, you know, I don't even have to worry about that, because before I was like, I don't have money to save, to put away in case my car breaks down. Like, I need to start saving for like a house. And it's like, yeah, that's great, but then when your car inevitably does break down, because it's not if things are gonna go wrong, it's when, like, that's life. And so then just to be like, okay, like, yes, you can save, but you can also put away like a little emergency fund in case, like, you know, you lose your job or things go wrong. That way you're not digging into it. It's like, just, you know, not being like, not changing your mindset to be like, oh, bad things are gonna happen to me. It's just like, okay, they will, but like, how are we going to deal with them, you know? And I find it's given me like problem solving skills for everything, like not just finances. It's huge. Yeah.
I love that so much. I had a girls' weekend this weekend, and one of my friends, she teaches like manifestation and that kind of thing. And she was talking about her journey to me from kind of, you know, when she was feeling really stuck, coming out of like a lot of trauma and abusive household, and then building the life that she has now. One of the things she said was, when I realized I was the toxic person in my life, that's when things started to change. And I was like, holy shit, I love that kind of analogy so much. And I think, you know, something I talk about is there's a really big difference between taking responsibility and taking the blame. So it's like, we can recognize why something has happened without like blaming ourselves for it, without it being this like toxic thing where we're like, yeah, shame on you. Like, no shame, no blame, none of that. We're only onwards and upwards, right? We can't change the past, but we can change the future. And I have this analogy, and I love it. So it's like, imagine you are you're gonna cross the street. So you get to the crosswalk and you push the little button and you wait for the little man to walking in to come up, the light goes through, and you're like, okay, cool, I'm gonna walk across the street. You start walking across the street at the crosswalk, and a car comes and hits you. Brakes both your legs, and you're like, shit, okay, My life is a series of unfortunate events. Oh my God, I can't believe this.
Yeah.
Right? You're in the hospital, you have to have surgery on both your legs. Doctor comes in and he says, you're going to be fine as long as you go to physio. You're going to need to do about 6 months of physio on your legs, and then you're going to, you know, whatever, then you can go back about your life. And you're like, well, fuck that. I did the right thing. I went to the crosswalk. I pushed the button. I waited for the green light. It's not my fault that that car hit me. I'm not spending 6 months of my life, my time, and my money in physio. I'm not doing that. So then you spend the rest of your life walking with a limp, walking with a cane, being in pain, all because you didn't take responsibility for the actions that you took after the shitty thing that is not your fault, that you are not to blame for, happened to you, right? Life is always going to happen to us. And for a long time, like, I played the victim. I was like, my parents should have saved money for my school. The government shouldn't make school so expensive. This is like predatory loan practices. It should be easier to get a job. It shouldn't be so expensive to live. Like, all of those fucking things, 100%. But if we continue to like curl up into a ball and be upset about it and not take action, we're just gonna let life happen to us instead of being the one choosing our destination.
Yeah, well, and that was the thing too. Like, you know, like you and I have talked a lot about like our personal situations and like, so but yeah, like I was getting to like a place in life that I hated when other people did it, and that was like playing the victim, and like that's exactly what I was doing, because it was kind of like, you go through so many kind of shitty experiences, and then it's kind of like, okay, well, I deserve a break, or like, like, why is this happening to me, and blah blah blah. And then it's funny because you talk a lot about like, the kind of like the logic behind manifesting, which I think is a lot more powerful, or empowering, because manifesting is great, but like manifesting doesn't work because like you just say it enough times and the universe will hand it over to you. It's that you're changing your subconscious. You're like, oh, if I say this enough times, like I'm going to be thinking about it all the time. And then, naturally you do things that will put you in that path because you're thinking about it. And that's kind of like totally true with, the negative stuff too. Like before I started this course, it was like, I'd been through a little bit of a rough time. And so like, I was just becoming negative and bitter. And I was like, all this shitty stuff always happens to me. Like, I'm a shit magnet, like just the worst stuff, it always comes my way and stuff. And the first thing you told me to do was like, like you're never going to be successful if you think you're a failure. And so the thing you told me to do that worked honestly the best is like just getting a journal and just, writing down the small things in a day. Like, just start with 3 small things good that happen. Like, it could literally be like, you didn't spill your coffee on yourself or whatever. And then seriously, by the end of the week, it's like, you're looking for those good things that you can write in there. And then you're looking for the good things. And like, that changed so much. And I found like when I changed, from going like, oh, like poor me, to like, no, like I have the power to change things. It was like life changing, because it's not just, what you put out you attract, but it's like it's what you put out, like you then like lean towards, and so I found like that was huge too. Like, it really is so much more psychological than anything, and that working on that was so like beneficial.
I love that so much. And so I'm a very like data focused person. I'm trying to apply my spirituality now. I'm like taking it more into the blue. However, like the course itself is more focused on like the data and like the studies and the psychology and that kind of thing, like the hard facts to back up what I'm talking about. One of the things, you were just saying there is like, your reticular activation system, which is that little bundle of nerves at the bottom of your brain, which basically filters out all of the information, right? We're bombarded with thousands and thousands of pieces of information a day, and your brain would be overwhelmed if it was trying to focus on everything at one time. So your reticular activation system actually tells your brain what to focus on, but it tells your brain what to focus on based on what you tell it to focus on, what you tell it to support. So if you were always thinking, I'm bad with money, I'm a piece of shit, bad things happen to me, whatever, that's what your reticular activation system is going to focus on, and that's what it's going to show you. It's the same thing as like, you're driving and you play like Punch Buggy or something, and it's like, okay, like red Punch Buggy, and you see them everywhere, and you're like, I fucking never see these cars, but now we're driving, and there's hundreds of them on the road. Is it because they weren't there before? No, it's because you told your brain what to focus on. And this can be so fucking dangerous, because if you tell it to focus on the wrong things, that's what you see. But it can be so powerful, because if you show it what to focus on, the good things, then that's what, you know, it's a thing where you have to train your brain to do it. Like I'm in a daily gratitude group where we literally go in once a day. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, I'm feeling like an angry piece of shit today. And I'm like, I don't feel grateful at all. But I'm like, hey, no, I'm grateful that I woke up healthy. I'm grateful for my legs to fucking take me downstairs. I'm grateful for my car to help me bring my kid to preschool. Like, I'm grateful for air conditioning, you know, all these kind of things that we kind of take for granted.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like bringing that awareness back. And it's like, I have found so much more happiness being able to focus on those things versus before where I just go, the sky is always falling. Like I literally called my life a series of unfortunate events.
Yeah. No, totally. I can completely relate to that. And like, you're right. Like it does just, it makes life so, like life is hard. And then, you know, you kind of focus on the negative things and it just makes everything so much harder. And like it's, I find a lot of the time too is like it really is so much easier to blame other people. So you know, when things were shitty, it's like, well, it's not my fault, like, you know, because like you only have yourself left in some of those moments. So to like, you know, kind of be like push the blame, it's so much easier. Whereas like, you know, this one of my classmates back in elementary school, she kind of told me something and it's always stuck with me. And it's funny because she was kind of always like very like strong-headed, and like I was like, she's definitely somebody that like never puts up with crap. And she said that her mom told her when she was little, people treat you how you let them. And I was like, that's such a good like analogy just for anything in life. Like as much as like, you know, shit might come towards you and people might treat you poorly and blah blah blah, you know, like at the end of the day, like you have the power to be like, to shut it down, to move on, to change it, you know. But like, if you don't, then unfortunately you only have yourself to blame. And I found like me before this course is I was kind of like, well, like I, you know, like COVID and like I just started my job and I have all these things and blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, okay, like you have all those things, but so does everybody else in the world right now. And like it's how you, like nobody's coming to save you, it's how you deal with it that's gonna inevitably be your change. So, and I found that was huge because in the program you do talk about that so much in your course. So it really helps you kind of, you know, like get behind that and realize, you know, okay, like maybe I wasn't great before, but like I can change, you know, like you have so many students that go through that you use as an example, and it's like they're not like the exception, the only difference is they put in the work, you know.
Exactly. And one of my favorite quotes it reminded me of is, you know, choose your heart, right? Being in debt is hard. You know, living paycheck to paycheck is hard. You know, struggling with money, not investing, feeling like yourself, those things are hard, right?
Yeah.
So you get to choose your heart. You can either choose the heart of figuring out what to do, figuring out how to save money, figuring out how to make more, figuring out how to build that dream life. That can be hard, or you can choose the other heart. Which one is your choice, right? That's like life is always going to be hard, but the beautiful thing about it is you get to choose your heart. So which card do you want to do, right?
Exactly.
And like, it starts out hard, but it gets so much easier. Like, you know, you have those Facebook memories, the cringy ones. Like, the harder I work, the luckier I seem to get. And it's like when I changed my mindset from life happens to me to I decide my future. And when I get into a situation where I don't know how to navigate it or I don't have what I want, it's just how do I get there? How do I get it? If it's been done before, that means it is possible. I just need to figure out how to apply that to my own life. And like, you know, I've had people say, do you ever get jealous of other people? Or no. Yeah. There's absolutely no reason to be jealous because you have something that I want. I can have it too. I just haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah.
Yes. Right? And I bought my son, he's like, I bought Liam a book called The Power of Yet. It's like the mindset ninja. Like, the whole book is like, I don't know how to throw a ball yet. Like, I love it so much, and I feel like it's such a good example of just like how to prime your brain to look for those opportunities and challenges.
Absolutely. No, that's really cute. Exactly. Start them off young. But yeah, well, and that was like another thing that you said in your course too, is like I find like so like, you know, in life it's like you're supposed to be comparing to like your sister, your neighbor, your whatever. And it's like what you say, I'm probably gonna butcher it, but you're like, like success, there's no limit on success. Like just because like, somebody is successful doesn't mean you can't also have success. Like it's not
Exactly.
bad to be like, hey, they're doing really good at their job, or they're doing like great, you know what I mean? Like good for them. Like, like I'm in my own lane, I'm doing something completely different. I can still be as successful. And me acknowledging that, or, like praising them is not going to make me less of a person or like take away
Exactly.
from me. And I find that's been like so huge because, like I definitely kind of got into that toxic like mindset where I'm like, oh, like, this person's like fitness journey, money journey, whatever. It's going so much better than mine. And it's like, okay, but like you don't know what they're going through. You don't know their struggles and stuff like that. So you can't compare apples to oranges, you know?
Exactly. You don't know their starting point. You don't know what
Yeah.
resources they've had. You don't know what assistance they've had. And the thing is, like, jealousy becomes inspiration when you realize you're next. When you say, yeah, you know what, you have that, I'm going to fucking have that too.
Yeah.
Use that to drive you, right? Use
Yeah.
that to get up in the morning and be like, yeah, my goals are more important, and I'm going to figure out how to achieve those goals. Like, how can I? Those three fucking words will completely transform your life.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I love that so much. Well, I wanted to thank you so much for joining me. Why don't you tell everyone about what goals you are pursuing next? Like, what's next on the docket for Taylor?
Yeah. So my life, it's a little more up in the air than most people, just because, of how I work and where I work. So I actually like moved to Sask to be closer to my boyfriend, but we're still kind of an hour apart just because of like where we're working and stuff.
Yeah.
So as long as things go to plan, which I mean, hopefully, but some things you can control, some things you can't. Our next goal would be to, move to a place that we can both live together. But regardless, where I go next, I would like to be closer to home, in which case I'd be, starting to apply for a mortgage, looking for homes. So that's huge because, before my credit wasn't great. I didn't even have like really any credit. Like the credit I had was just for my credit card. Whereas now
Yeah.
it's like, I know that I have like bills on it and like I'm financing stuff. So it's like easier to go in that direction because I'm like, I actually understand what I need to get there.
Yeah.
And not only that, but like, I actually have the savings now. Like one of my big goals was to save just 15K. Like that's all I want to do. Just then I can start like if I want a house next, if I want to travel, if I want to do something, I have that starter. And like I'm
Exactly.
in my savings, I think I was telling you right now I have 3 in one and 5 in the other. So like 10, like I'm almost there. Like it's huge. I'm super excited. I'm also starting to invest. That's awesome. Like I would love to get to like a good amount there where I can like be satisfied and know that like it will continue to grow and I'll be set to retire because that was another big one.
Yeah.
And then yeah, so pretty much just I saved that I'm almost fully saved that 15, and then house would be probably the next one, and then after that just like really increasing my investments and everything. Like it was kind of funny because I remember you saying you're like a lot of people think because they're like 20 or whatever 30 they're like I don't need to worry about retirement because it's so far in the future, but like it's so easy to set it up and like make it so that like you literally like I'm putting payments in right now and it's like I don't even have to worry about that. Like I know I'm going to retire young. I know I'm going to retire, like with millionaire status. Like that's huge. That's so crazy. And like it's so funny because you'd think like why is that one of your goals right now? Like that's so far in the future. It's like yeah, but if I work towards it now then it's like effortless. Like it's something I can achieve so quick. So that's kind of the three main things that I'm working on right now, but I'm really close to all of them. So
I
I'm
love
really, really
that. I
excited.
literally have goosebumps that made me so happy. I love that you were able to take that out of the program too, where it's like, yeah, you can wait 100%, but just like kicking the can into the future doesn't mean that it's gone. It just means that you're going to have to work
Yes.
harder for it. And I think, how many of us right now are, looking at our parents and we're like, are you going to be okay? Did you
Yes.
get for retirement? Like, are you?
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm going to work for it until I die. And you're like, that's really fucking sad.
Yeah.
And also, how do I make sure that that is not my life? And, the thing is, too, a lot of us believe that you just get to 65 and you just get to retire. You don't.
Yeah.
And you can retire so much earlier,
Oh, yeah.
if you get to that number. And I think it's so important, too, because people think, that it's number one, they're like, oh, retirement, like whatever, that sounds like a fucking pipe dream.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, right? It doesn't have to be. You can definitely get there by building up those investments to work in place of you. But at the same time, thinking about maybe it's not early retirement, but maybe it's the ability to choose to work. Maybe it's the ability to
Yeah.
stop working your very stressful job that you keep because you're like, well, it pays me well. Well, I went to school for this and I make good money, so I should stay here. Maybe it's the ability to leave that job and go and work part-time or go and work another job that fulfills you in a different way.
Yeah.
You don't have to do for the money. Like I know we had a student come through last year and she did exactly that. She was like, you know what? She was a social worker. She's working full time. She's super stressed out with her job. And she was actually able to go down to working part time because of the way that she set up her investment. Yeah. So she got so much of her life back and she was able to pursue other things that she really enjoyed and loved at that point instead of just focusing on this thing that was causing her a lot of stress,
Yeah.
and anxiety and everything. So, no, I love that so much. And I love that you were able to take what you learned and then set up plans for these longer goals. Like my goal when you guys come into the program is not to just be successful in the 3 months that you're working with me.
Yeah.
It's to build that success and build those foundations so that you get to have a lifetime of success afterwards, so that you're able to realize those goals, so that when you're like, hey, you know what, I want to buy a house, you go to your bank account and you have the fucking money to do that.
And that was like such a huge thing too, is like I remember taking the course and I was like kind of naive to like how much you would teach us. Like I'm like, okay, good, I'll get out of credit card debt, like I'll figure out how to like penny pinch and stuff like that. And then like you teach us all this stuff. And it was funny too, because I was like, I would go and like reiterate it back to my boyfriend. He's like, oh, like I never thought about it that way. And so but it's crazy because one of the things like I really want like a big family, and something that I was super fortunate, like not a lot of people have this, but like my parents put away money like when I was younger so that I was able to go to college and stuff. And that was because of that. Like that was always one of my goals for my kids. But again, I was like, I don't even have kids. Like I'm not even married. Like I'm not ready for that. Like I don't need to think about it. And it's like, no, but why aren't you saving for it anyways? Because if you like, even if you don't have kids for like another 10 years, it's like, it's still money that you're saving, and like, it's funny because like when it makes you really think about all, like the logistics to all those kind of plans. Because for me, it was like, oh, well, my parents put away money and like now I can go to college. It's like, but then I really started talking to them. I was like, okay, so like she says you should really start planning like quite ahead of time. Like when did you guys start planning? And they're like, oh, like, when we started kind of getting serious, like my mom's like, I think we started putting into an RESP when your dad and I got engaged. And I'm like, holy crap, like,
oh wow,
yeah. We're planning for 20 years. And like, you don't think of that because you're like, oh, I don't have to worry about it right now. It's like, no, but you do. And if you actually start it now, it's actually not a worry because it'll just accumulate so stress-free. Whereas like, if you're scrambling when your kids are like 16, 20 grand that's a lot of money, but over 20 years, not so much,
Exactly, because then time gets to compound and grow it for you. I don't have a compound interest calculator in front of me, but like time is your fucking best friend. If you started saving, like, don't quote me on these numbers since again, don't have the calculator, but if you started saving like, $200 a month in your 20s, you can retire a millionaire. You can retire early a millionaire. If you start saving $400 a month in your 40s, you're not even gonna, maybe it's gonna be like $400,000. Not that that's not a lot of money because it is, that's amazing. However, you're putting in double, right? You're putting in twice as much money and you're gonna get like a fraction of what it is because time is not on your side. The way investing works is you either give it more time or you give it more money. So if you wanna get rich on less, start now, put in the small amounts now, whether it's $5, $50, $100 a month, put that in, let it grow and compound for you. Because it's just, you're gonna thank yourself in the future. The way I always say it is like, imagine when you go and you put on like a jacket from like last year or whatever, and you find like a $20 bill in the pocket, and you're like, what? I'm rich. What am I gonna spend this on today? I love it. Imagine doing that, but like with your fucking bank account. Imagine you look at your bank account and you're like, wow, I can go to Bali. I can buy a house. I have money to put down on a new car. I can fucking retire. I can choose to quit this soul fucking job that is stressing me the fuck out, that I feel like I have to save. All of these things, it just gives you choice, it gives you opportunity, it gives you freedom. And I think that that's why it's just so important to focus on your finances when you're young, to give you, and it doesn't mean sacrificing, right? Like I got my financial shit together. I still shopped, I still traveled, I still, ate out, but I figured out ways to make more money and ways to save more money without changing my lifestyle and feeling restricted. And that, again, is why I don't believe in budgeting and why we focus so much on like mindset and stuff. But that is a topic for another day.
Yeah, but you're right. Like, it is so huge to, like, not restrict yourself, but like also understand everything about your finances. Because I thought too, I was like, whatever, like, I don't understand about stocks and stuff like that. I'm not going to pay attention to it. I don't even have the funds for that. And it's like, it's actually so, like, we are so ill-educated in that. Like, schools do not do a good enough job because it's so backwards. Like, I'm like, I don't have money for that. I can't invest like right now. And it's like, no, but that's actually opposite. Like, you don't need the money. The point is that you put the money in and it grows for you. It's not that you grow your money on the outside and then invest. It's like, no, it works together. Like, they kind of like, hold hands in that kind of situation. And so being able to start young, you're right, is so different than, waiting until you have the money to start. And it's crazy because like you learn that in the program, whereas, I feel like if you take, certain courses in high school and then university, you could find that out, but like, it's not general knowledge, and that's kind of really messed up.
Yeah, no, I 100% believe that. I think like my next goal, my like crazy, really fun goal, if anyone's watching and you guys work in a school district and a school board, tell me, I would love to work with like an elementary school, a high school, to start, formulating personal finance programs so that people can learn about money and start developing these skills at a young age, because it fucking blows my mind where it's like, but you have to invest. It's not like a nice to have, it's a must. We don't have pensions. Like, our parents maybe were the last generation that may have a pension. We don't have that. We don't get to retire. You cannot save your way to retirement. You have to invest, and investing is the only real way to like really truly change your financial situation. You're never going to save yourself into a different lifestyle. You know what I mean? It's all going to be based on your investments and growing your money and getting money to work for you outside of that. So I think it's so important. So if anybody's watching this, you work for a school board, hit me up.
That would be huge. I think that'd be a really good idea for you, because they do need to start so much younger than they are. Like, I remember the first time I mean, like I said, my parents were super good with like, educating us on that kind of stuff. But like, as like, not a lot of people do that with their kids, and it's not even their problem, because like, or their fault, because a lot of them don't even know about it. Like, I have like, friends and friends' parents that are still like, oh, I don't know, about that kind of stuff. But even though like, my parents taught me a bunch, for the school portion of it, I remember the first time we ever talked about like, compound interest and credit card debt and stuff was in my grade 11 math class. And it was because I chose that class. And I think one other course did it, and that was kind of it. But that was like, you're already 16, 17 in that. And that's the first time you're hearing about it. And only because I chose to go in there,
Exactly. Well, and even if you learn about it in that context too, it's a math class, right? It's not a life skills class. It's not a managing your money class. It's like, okay, this is how you calculate compound interest, and this is what happens with credit cards, versus these are the dangers of like payday loans. These are the dangers of using your credit card. A credit card can be an amazing tool, but it doesn't put you in debt. You put you in debt, like these kinds of things. And people that are not exposed, like, it's not fair. And we have so many even teachers in our programs, teachers, nurses, lawyers, all of these people who are very educated people, and they don't know about it either. So it's not like, I know people have a lot of shame around like, oh well, I should already know this, but like, if you weren't taught about money, it's not your fault, right? But it's now your responsibility to learn, right? Just like that analogy I talked about before, it's your responsibility to go, okay, you know what, my parents didn't know. And if I continue using the knowledge that I have, I'm probably going to end up in that lifestyle. And I just made a video yesterday where it's like, if you keep asking your parents for advice, know that you're likely going to live the same life your parents have. And if that, that's up to you to decide if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But if you see your parents' life and you're like, shit, they really struggled with money, or shit, they made some decisions that probably put them in a bad position, or whatever, and you're like, hey, I want something different, then you need to take the time to rewrite those money rules and those scripts that you learned. We don't realize that our views on life are formed by the time we're 7 years old. Our beliefs, our thought process, those are formed even about money by the time we're 7 years old, based on what we are seeing our parents and our caretakers and our people in our environment doing with money. So if we don't ever take the time to rewrite that information, that 7-year-old you, still at 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, is still making those decisions, whether you realize it or not. And it's so important to be able to go back and choose what kind of information and what kind of input that you want to be driving your decisions.
Oh yeah. Well, and I found like the course even too, like there were so many like wrong ideations that I had about money. Like, you know, it was like, for example, it's like, oh, like let that balance sit on your credit card, and like that everybody tells you that, and like it's so crazy to me that everybody has it wrong. It's like, no, it makes no fucking difference if you have it on there or if you're paying it off right away. And like, quite honestly, my score jumped 150 points because I wasn't letting that balance sit, because I was like, every time I, you know, spend something, I'd pay it. And like, it's just crazy because there's so many rules like that that are so wrong, and everybody has like the wrong answer. And it's just kind of like, yeah, okay, like everybody has the wrong answer. That's just what it is. It's like, no, that's not okay. Like money's so important. You need to understand how it works properly. Like that's not okay. So I think that's huge that you're going in and wanting to do something like with younger generations at school, because that is where it starts, right?
100%. I love that. Okay, why don't we, I don't want to take up your whole day, why don't we open it up to see if anybody has any questions quickly. If you guys want to post that in there. I'm going to scroll back. I saw a couple up here, I think. We'll stay on for another 2 minutes, answer questions. Oh my God, sorry, maybe I went too far. Okay, don't mind me scrolling. So happy to see so many people here too. Jennifer, Dana, Kyra, Tori. I love that. Ash,
yeah, it's sweet. I see a lot of friends too from like school and stuff.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I keep clicking on people. Again, technologically challenged. A lot of people say congratulations, so it's amazing. Taylor, you go, girl. I love that.
Thank you.
Sorry, guys. I'm still scrolling. Appreciate even the small emergency fund. I had a car repair that I didn't have to put it on my credit card, even though my emergency fund isn't where I want it to be. Yes, this is the thing about emergency funds, right? It's like an oh shit fund. It's like a, you know, things are going to happen because it's life, so let's make sure we have some money put away for it. We don't know exactly what it is yet, but something's going to hit the fan at some point. So have that money put aside.
Yeah, that was so, like the emergency fund, it was so funny because like when you said it, I was like, oh, that's so obvious. Why didn't I think of that? Because you're right. Like, it's like people like, no, like I need to save. And then like when life inevitably happens, like it's not if, it's when, you know, like you have a car payment that's like, I don't know, $2,000 because your transmission or whatever went. I don't know nothing about cars, but then you dig into your savings and it's like, or you dig into your credit card because you don't want to dig into your savings. And it's like, okay, but that's backwards, because then again, you're just going further into debt rather than just putting aside a little bit every month for emergencies. That way, when the emergency happens, you're not going further into debt. You're just taking it from somewhere that you already kind of had it put aside. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, we had a comment from someone being like, yeah, you know, it's math. They don't teach you how to apply it. They teach you business compound interest. Like, okay, cool. Now what?
Yeah.
What happens, right?
And like it will, and that's the thing too. It's like exactly she's right, or he, I wasn't sure who commented, but exactly, like that's what they say to you in school, and it's all abstract. Like they don't teach you how to apply it in life. Like they don't teach you how to like calculate. It's like, oh, this is what's on your credit card. It's like, okay, but like how do I figure out how much it is, and how do I figure out like to calculate my debt, and like, you know, if I don't pay it off, or my savings and stuff. Like it's all just kind of like, here it is, like we taught you, we touched on it kind of thing, but like nobody knows how to actually apply it and use it in their life to help them even.
Exactly. We had a question from Danny who said, Taylor, what was your first aha moment with the program?
I feel like that's kind of tough because there's been so many, but probably I would say a lot of the credit card, like anything to do with the credit card. Like the fact that like, you know, like I always thought like, oh, okay, like, if you let it balance it on there, it's better. Like, if you have a lower limit, it's better, like that kind of stuff. So when Nicole started talking about like all this other stuff, I would say I was like kind of scared because I was like, oh God, like, paying it off every single bit. Like, what if she's wrong and like my credit card like score like lowers or stays the same or whatever, or like it's not as beneficial. So when like I actually like, took the leap and was like, hey, she knows what she's talking about. Like, you need to just forget all the old crap that's in your head and like start listening to those rules, being like the realization when it started to just climb and go away so quickly, like that was kind of when I was like, oh my God, like that is actually crazy. It really put me into perspective over like how much stuff is like, just wrong about finances, and that we just like think is okay and nobody corrects us. So it was a really big like aha moment to be like, holy crap, like we really are so naive about finances, and it's so bad because we don't even know how naive we are until it's put right in front of us. So that was
Yeah.
probably the biggest thing with me. Yeah.
That's, I think, and I love that so much. And I think even like when I talk about the fact that I don't believe in budgets, like this pisses off the personal finance community to no end. But it's like, hey guys, you know what? If it was just as easy as writing out your expenses on a piece of paper, nobody would be fucking struggling with money, right? It is not just as simple. It's not a simple math problem. It's, you have to figure out why you are where you're at. And I hate it so much because there's so much, societal kind of advice, like the credit card stuff you were just talking about, and budgeting and blah blah blah, and like the way the way to get rich is to just cut every little joy out of your life and don't spend any money if you have all these things. And it's like, that is so fucking backwards, and that doesn't actually work. And like, yeah, you can tell somebody to restrict themselves so they're blue in the face, but it doesn't mean that they're actually going to get ahead financially. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. When I was in university, I budgeted really hard. I used the jar method, which is basically where you just like shame yourself into not spending money because you get to see yourself like stealing from the other jars as you don't have cash for the things you think you do. Or you watch the money slowly going away and you're like, wow, this is really reinforcing a scarcity mindset and a shame, kind of just like, I hate myself.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is not conducive to building wealth at all. It's making me feel like there's not enough, there's never enough, and it's making me just really fucking scared. And making me hate myself and reinforcing the belief that I am bad with money and that I'm never actually going to get ahead. That's not, like, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are correct because you will be safe in that way.
Well, and I think it's huge too because like you compare it a lot to like a diet, and I think that's so perfect because diets are the exact same. It's like, it's like, okay, you have to stay on this diet, and like, God forbid you have like a fucking chocolate bar, and then you're hating yourself all day long. And it's like, that's not realistic. Like, even in this program, like, it's not like I started taking this program and all of a sudden I like, things didn't go shitty, and I didn't like live tighter mode. There was like a month, it was like a month ago that like I was tighter because I made it, but it's learning how to deal with that and how to still be like, okay, like, it was a tighter month. Why was that? Oh, it's because, my, this bill was higher, or like I spent more here. It's like, okay, so now we know that, go forward. And I found a big thing too was like, you teach how not to budget, but how to like track your expenses. And, cause my job is so like abstract because it can be like, on paper I can make, X amount of dollars, but if I'm working like 10 hours of overtime, then I make more. And so it kind of throws my months and like my algorithm for that tracking. But even just like I went back, like right now I'm kind of redoing it on my own and just like really like with a fine-tooth comb, and I found that my calculations weren't great just because of how I was going about it with like my hours and stuff. And once I fixed that, then I realized that like, oh, I actually could be saving even more. Like, it's kind of just like being aware of it and really being mindful of that kind of stuff that allows you to like grow going forward. It's not that you're always going to be perfect. It's that like now when you're not perfect, how to fix those problems. Yeah.
Exactly. I love that. And that is so, I love that you took that away from it because it's like, yes, life is always going to be messy. That's life, right? And that's why your life doesn't fit into a fucking budget, doesn't fit into, 30% of your income on housing and whatever. Like that's just not how it works. But what does work is teaching you how to make those decisions, how to be able to see a situation and be like, okay, what actually makes sense for me based on my values and my goals here, right? And feeling comfortable and confident in those decisions because you've set up your finances in such a way that you are going to achieve those goals, and now you actually get to enjoy your money too. So
yes,
I love that so much. I love that. Okay, last question we have from Erin. She said, how can I start? So Taylor had actually taken our Makin Money Moves Method. We are actually in the process of launching that right now. So you can apply through the link in our bio. There's an application. After the application, you have a discovery and application call with our team. If your application is selected to go to the next round, that application and discovery call, as I know Taylor said, I think you guys watch for like an hour and a half. Our intake managers are phenomenal. For about 30 minutes to an hour typically. And basically it's to help you figure out if this is really a good fit for you. That's why we use all this information, because I mean, from your perspective, I don't want you coming in here and not having great results. That's why, you know, all of the students that come in, we're seeing them on that student success page. We have like so many student success stories because we want people coming in here who we know our methodologies are going to help. And then from, you know, selfishly from a business perspective, I don't want people coming through who are not going to have amazing success, because I don't want them to get to the end and be like, oh no, I didn't get anything out of that. Like, no. So that's why we take the application, we do the application call. At the very least with the application call, you're going to have more information about your financial situation and what your next steps could be, whether that's with me or not, right? Whether this is the right program for you or not. And I think even just taking the step to apply and saying, hey, you know what? I want some help. I'm recognizing that this is a problem and I'm seeking the information. And if this doesn't end up being the right fit for you, that's okay, because I'm so fucking proud of you for them getting through step one and then moving into step two. So we'll be able to, you know, on the call, point you in the right direction of other resources. We have other programs available. If you're watching this and you're like, hey, I don't have any debt, my credit score is good, I already, you know, have a big savings account, my mindset's whatever, I just want to learn how to invest and create multiple streams of income. Amazing, because we have another program for that as well. So we have a bunch of different programs and opportunities to learn from us depending on your situation. So our goal ultimately is just to help you figure out what the next best steps are for you.
Yeah, and I think it was kind of funny because like I saw on TikTok, there was like somebody commented like, I didn't get accepted into the program I wanted to, and they were like upset. And I'm like, dude, shouldn't you be happy about that? Like it's kind of funny because like you're like, I was really surprised with, you know, like the whole setup and like the program schedule too, like even just with having that interview with Jenny, like it's taken really seriously. And I think like some people, you know, they see it on TikTok, it's like, oh, I'm just gonna apply and get in and it'll be great. And it's like, well, yeah, but if you don't, that's a good thing, because it's not like you're a bunch of, you know, business women that are just like, oh, okay, we have somebody else that like we can just get money from. It's like, no, like we're not gonna take you if we don't think that you're ready, or that this program might be great for you. It's like, we want to help you succeed, not just come in here and take your money. So like, no, we're going to point you in the right direction. It's like, I think that's super huge, but it's kind of funny because I saw that comment and I'm like, you know, like I can understand, you know, being frustrated, but like it's really benefiting you in the long run, because it's not something you want to start if you're not ready for it. You know, you need to be financially like aware of what you want to do and have your goals in order, because if you're not fully committed, it would be a tough program to go through, you know, or at least this specific one, right? So I think it's really good that you guys weigh every option out for people who are applying and point them in the right direction, not just the one that will cost them the most.
Exactly. And I think, you know what, like we always want our programs to be a blessing. And we want to make sure that the people that we're bringing in have the ability to see those results. And if you don't, we're going to tell you. And I think, I know it can feel really frustrating for people who apply and their application gets denied because they're like, hey, I finally took the step towards, you know, changing my situation, and you're telling me no. It's not no forever. Maybe it's just no right now. Maybe it's, hey, you need to complete these steps first. Here's another resource to do that, right? Maybe it's our $49 ebook. Maybe it's our $99 debt repayment course, where you can go and then slowly start to change your financial situation. Come back 1 or 2, 3 months later, we have the ability for you to even just get a refund on those things, and then come in and then move up into the actual coaching program after. And our intake managers are phenomenal. They will follow up with you. They will make sure that you are doing the things that you said you were supposed to be doing, so that you actually get to that point. And I mean, when you come into the program, we have so much support. We have our Facebook group, which my husband probably hates me because I'm literally in it.
In it all the time.
How did you get the information? I'm going live.
Well, and it's funny too, because like even the like you're right, like even if you're like your application is denied for like this program, it's like Jenny and like all like I'm sure all the other girls, I've only ever worked with Jenny, but like are so good with being like, no, but like I can still help you. Like even though you're not our student for this course, it's like I can still help you. Like it's not like they leave you hanging, and like they always make it to your benefit. It's just like, yeah, okay, like you wouldn't be great yet just because, you know, we got to get some other things in line, but like let me show you how. Like I'm not just going to be like, here, go deal with that. It's like I'll show you how, set you up, and then we can revisit it.
Exactly. No, I love that. I love that so much. Yeah, no, our intake managers are amazing. I mean, we have such a phenomenal team. I am so lucky to work with so many incredible men and women. You know, as I was saying before, like the Facebook group, we have co-coaches in there. We have me in there. We have our therapists in there. We have our monthly mindset masterminds. We have weekly group coaching calls. So suffice it to say, you get all of the support in the program, plus all of the modules and the homework and the guest trainers and all of those kind of things, just to kind of complement each other and the community. I love it so much when we're on the calls when somebody's struggling with something and someone else like, me too, but it's okay. Like we're in it together.
Yeah.
Because like,
well, and it's.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. You go ahead.
I was going to say, you know, when you're struggling with your finances, it can feel like you're the only one. It can feel like you are alone, and then nobody else is going through the same thing that you are, and everyone else just has their shit together. But then you come into our, you know, even our public Facebook group, you got 65,000 people in there. 65,000 women who are like, yeah, I'm a badass bitch. I'm going through it too, but I'm going to figure this out. And I just think it's just so phenomenal. Like our private coaching community, once you actually come into the program, it's just, everybody is so supportive. Everybody is there doing the same thing. And it's just a beautiful thing.
Oh yeah. Well, and it's crazy because like obviously, you know, my mom's like pretty like protective. And so it was funny because like when I told her that I was taking this course, she was like a little nervous because she's like, you found it on TikTok, you know, like, what are you doing? And I was like, you know, like I actually did my research of her and stuff. And so I sent her like all your like information she's looking up. She's like, wow, like I'm really impressed. And she said, Nicole, she was literally like, I can't find a single bad review on her. Like I really can't. I'm like, you won't, Mom. Like honestly, like she's phenomenal. And so like I started telling her all the stuff I was learning, and she's like, oh wow, like that's super cool. And like she, you know, she'd see like the odd like clip or video I'd like send her, or like, you know, I would show her like, you know, about my posts in the group chat and like my successes, and how like she's like, wow, and like she responds to every single thing. I'm like, everything. I'm like, I swear they never leave the app. And I was like, they are so invested in like all, like every single one of their students. It's huge. Like it's not just for show. Like I think a lot of the times, like, you know, when it's highly advertised, people get worried about that kind of stuff because it's like, oh, you know, like it can't be that good. It's like, no, it can. You just have to go into a program that's like actually dedicated to like you and not like the money that you put into it, which is, it's huge. Like I think even she's been like really surprised with like how well I've done and like how invested you are, because it is such a big community, but it really like it's very big, but it has a very small feel to it because everybody is so intertwined and invested in each other's success.
Like, I think it definitely is scary, and it's definitely something that I'm battling all the time, where it's like, there are so many shitty people on the internet. There's so many shitty people on the internet. So like, I want people to be skeptical. I want people to do their research. I want people to ask questions. I know a question that our intake managers will get all the time on the calls is like, can you guarantee my success? And unfortunately, we can't. Even though we know that the processes and the methodologies and the strategies, this repeatable process has gotten results again and again and again, not just for me, but for hundreds, if not thousands of students at this point. We can't guarantee your results because we don't know what you're going to put into it, right? Will there be people that come in and sign up for the program and do absolutely nothing? They don't do the homework. They don't show up the calls. They don't watch any of the modules. They think simply by joining, they're going to change their lives. And it's like, babe, this is not a magic pill. This is not a magic pill. This is you come in, you got to do the work, right? It doesn't have to be hard. We're here to support you, right? And it's set up in a way that it gets to be easy, but you still have to fucking show up. And not only do you have to show up to do the thing, but you have to show up then afterwards to continue to apply it to your life, to trust in the process, to trust in the methodologies. You know how people like come in and they're like, I just want the investing shit. And I'm like, you're going to get to the investing stuff. The way that it's built is that each module builds on the last one, so that we are building you that foundation So when you get to the investing stuff, it works, it sticks, and you don't lose money. Anybody who is telling you that, you know, we had this person we denied and she was really upset. But she was really, really, she was not in a good financial position, and she really needed to address some immediate things because, you know, think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. When we are struggling with basic needs like food, housing, shelter, like that kind of thing,
it doesn't make sense to
that's not what you need. And everybody, and you know what, maybe I could run this business without so much integrity and make a lot more fucking money, but at the same time, it just it doesn't feel good to me. And for me, I'm like, no, like you need to go back and we need to address these things. Here's some free resources. Here's, you know, some other things that you could do. Because anybody who fucking tells you that investing is going to change your situation right now, or investing is the best thing for you in the situation, is lying to you. Really, really bad financial position. Like, please, just I implore everybody who's even watching this or considering taking a course, like just do your research, right? And I think there will always be bad reviews of people maybe who are angry from anything, right? You go on any store. I don't think I've ever gone into anything on like Google and not seen a bad review. But like consider the source, I guess, at the end of the day, right? Consider the source. And that goes for whatever program you're considering. I don't think we have any bad reviews, again, because they've worked really hard to make sure that everybody that comes through the program who shows up for themselves, you know, has an incredible experience. And, you know, and if somebody doesn't and they go through the program, they're like, hey, you know what, I really wish that I had more of this. Or, hey, you know, we had somebody come through and they were like, I got really sick and I wasn't able to make it to any of the calls, and now I wasn't able to get what I wanted out of the program, and I'm really upset. And we're like, okay, well, you know, number one, like, you know, I hope you're feeling better. 2, we can't control that you got sick and feel horrible. Like, that's so bad. 3, let's just get you in the group for another month. Let's extend your time for free. Like, let's make sure that you're getting everything out of it that you need. If somebody has a problem or somebody needs support and they come to us, we always fix it. We always find a way to help them and make that better for them. And I think that's just so important too.
Oh, super accommodating. Like I was talking to Soph and I was like, it was funny because I actually thought, like, I was like, oh, you know, like just when I was like reviewing, I was like, can I get like the receipts like for me, just for like when it comes like tax season, so I could like clean them and stuff. She's like, yeah, no problem. She's like, how's the course? Like, even like your support staff was like so invested, and I was like, it was super good. Like, I was like, I do have like you know, a couple more questions. She's like, okay. She was like, well, like, you know, like if you put into the course, you know, effort and like you work hard and stuff like that, it's recognized. Like, even she was like, you've been doing really well, like, you know, we can give you a couple extra weeks if you want to stay in or whatever, and you can get that, you know, that last like tail kind of snipped or whatever, and like we can figure that out. Like, they're super accommodating, but it's not just gonna work if you just go into it and expect it to change. And it's exactly what you're saying. Like, yes, everybody who's like, you know, in debt or struggling wants to change, but it makes, as much as vesting is huge and so important, it's like, it makes no sense to, you know, want to learn about investing and do it right now if like you're struggling to put food on your table. Because it's like, yeah, investing is great, but like that's not going to help you right now. Like, you need to get that figured out first. So I think it's really good because you're all very knowledgeable, but it's very what's the word I'm looking for? Like, you're very honest people too. Like, you're not just trying to, you know, get the best like bang for your buck. It's like you're actually trying to help people, which I think is so huge. I think that's why like I was drawn to your course, is because it is so much more about like empowering and like having people succeed, rather than just like, oh, like, how can I, you know, get more money and, you know, hopefully people do good, but whatever. Like, you're very invested and like you guys actually care, and it shows with every single one of your teammates.
Oh, well, thank you. I love that so much. And you know what? That's really what I strive for with this program, is I have so much invested in each and every student. I will say that there are students, like I said, that come in and they don't do the work. They don't show up for themselves. They don't show up to the calls. They don't do the work. They don't post in the group. And it's like, I can't help you,
that's with everything, right?
I can't help you. That's the point where they need to take, where they need to take responsibility for their own kind of stuff. And if they came to us and said, hey, you know what? I fucking self-sabotaged and I really screwed up and I didn't do anything. Can you help me? Yeah, 100%. And I think it's just about taking that responsibility and taking those actions and stuff. But again, you got to show up and do the work. But you did. You showed up. You did the work. You did all the things. I'm so freaking proud of you and your success. And I just really want to thank you so much for coming on here today and having this conversation with me and sharing your experience with our students, our community.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. You've been like wonderful. Like, if I could say to anybody, like, it's not even just like, you know, the knowledge that you learn with like finances and stuff. It's like, there's so much more to the course, and like Nicole and her team are super invested. Like, there was not a single question I asked, whether it was on Facebook or email or whatever, that wasn't answered. Honestly, like, I can guarantee within 2 hours. It was crazy. And like, even you, like, we've talked a lot and like had a lot to heart to hearts, and like everything you see on like TikTok or Instagram, it's all exactly how she is. Like, it's not for show. She really is like that, genuine. So I really appreciated having such an amazing role model. You did a lot more for me than just help me with my finances. So thank you.
Taylor, you're so sweet. I'm gonna cry. Like, why do I cry every day? Yeah. I love that so much. Thank you so much, honey. I really appreciate you. For anybody who's looking for more information on the program, you can find that through our link in the bio or on our website under Work with Nicole. Okay, you all have a beautiful day. Bye, Taylor.
Thank you so much. Bye.